Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimaloye here in Abuja. We begin by letting you know what has happened today. They're lucky, and it's a lucky day, and, you know, I'm happy when some people are happy. You know, today President Bola Tinubu has launched the National Health Fellows Program, a key initiative under the Renewed Hope agenda to revitalize Nigeria's primary health care system, addressing 774 young fellows tasked with monitoring primary health care centers across all the 774 local government areas. President Tinubu has now offered them an automatic employment to the participants on completion of their fellowship. Take a listen to the president.
Healthcare is a critical pillar of national development. No country can prosper if its people are unhealthy. An unsustainable health program presents danger. A sustainable development is only possible with strong health care system. And you are the pillars. I'm proud of being with you here today. I could see the excitement since I got in here. And to address the young fellows who are committed to building a country of ace and our dream, the coordinating minister and the champion of this program has requested for an approval. And luckily, the minister of Finance Coordinating Economy is here also. So for that, you are hired.
May I plead on behalf of all of them, Your Excellency, that at the end of their fellowship program, if we encourage the federal government, federal civil service, and the state civil service to give them some priority consideration. Yes, this is a plea. This is a prayer. It has not yet been answered. So,
all right, that prayer was answered because the minister spoke before the president, and congratulations to these young ones who are 774 fellows, health fellows across the Federation. So tonight, let's jump quickly at our major conversation tonight. And there's been this debate on and on. Is it about seats in the real sense of it? The argument about now the suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti and today, just like yesterday, she appeared, she resumed plenary, and she appeared at the right chambers, her usual place of work. And when she did, she presented a petition this time around again against the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. Let me allow you to listen to our petition of today.
A malicious obstruction of Legislative Central under the name Suberu Azamari Yakubu. And the petition is against the President of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, for sexual harassment, abuses of office, and malicious obstruction of legislative functions of distinguished Senator Natasha Akpoti. So with your kind permission, may I please lay this petition? Because as you know, yesterday...
Is there any legal impediment?
On the subject matter, none, sir. None, sir.
Please proceed to lay the petition. Distinguished colleagues, Senator Natasha Akpoti has a petition from her constituents, and she has also further confirmed before all senators that the matter in issue is not in any court of law. I have no reason not to take her word for it. So accordingly, the petition is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions to revert to the Senate in 4 weeks.
All right, that was how the petition today was laid before the Senate. There are arguments as to the technicalities about how the procedure of how she laid the petition and whether or not as a senator in your own matter, you can lay a petition or present a petition for yourself in your own voice by your own self. Well, there was another petition today about her, but written and presented from another person. Well, is that technicality or are those technicalities addressed in what happened today? Well, you know what happened yesterday afternoon when the Ethics Committee met, and at their meeting, they made their conclusions. Senator Akpoti did not appear before them, but they have presented a few prayers that was now laid before the Senate. Let me allow you to listen to the chair of the Senate Ethics Committee when she presented the committee's report on Senator Natasha Akpoti.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition, having due deliberation of the matter as revealed by Senator Adeyemi Raphael Adaramodu, Senator Titus Tatenja Zam, Chamber staff, and the Sergeant at Arms, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti for 6 months for her total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Senate in general to public opprobrium. 2. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or to reduce the tenure of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. 3. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti with effect from 6 March 2025 from all legislative activities forthwith. 4. That her office be locked up for the duration of her suspension and hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the National Assembly. 5. That for the duration of her suspension, she cannot come or be seen within the vicinity of the National Assembly, including her staff. 6. That her salaries and allowances, including those of her legislative aides, be suspended and withdraw of all security details for the duration of her suspension. And 7. That for the period of her suspension, she be barred from representing herself to the public, locally and internationally, as the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In conclusion,
presentation by the Senate Committee Chair on Ethics, the presiding officer, Senator Godswill Akpabio, then handed down the position. The prayers were read on the floor, and the gavel went down, and not in Senator Akpoti Uduaghan's favor. Let me allow you to listen to the very much, and it's about 7-8 minutes long presentation and the prayers by the Senate President. But listen to the portion where the final prayer was read and the gavel went down.
Okay, because I thought I had 50-50. Let me just make it 40-60. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenure of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration of this case by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. No. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, liberalism. Prayer 3, that the Senate do suspend Senator Akpoti Uduaghan with effect from 6th day of March 2025 from all legislative activities forthwith. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, that her office be locked up for the duration of this suspension, and she should hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the National Assembly. Those in support of prayer 4 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, that for the duration of her suspension, she cannot come or be seen within the vicinity of the National Assembly, including her staff. But this is normal.
All right, those are all the prayers who are being read, but immediately as that was happening, the senator had something to say before, just shortly before she left the chambers.
This injustice will not be sustained. The pursuit for justice.
That's how it went today, but let's get some legal perspective to it and some experience of the National Assembly operations. I'm being joined by a former federal lawmaker and senior advocate of Nigeria, Honorable West Idauso is live for us here in our studio. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time tonight, but give us an understanding. Has the Senate done anything wrong against Senator Akpoti Uduaghan?
Well, to start with, I think that they have not just wronged Uduaghan, they've wronged Nigeria. The reason is simple. We all know that a few days ago, maybe 2 days ago or so, the court order was served on the Senate of Nigeria. The committee in charge of ethics and so on and so forth. And that there was proof of service. I mean, this was flying on the social media and everyone saw it. They got a substituted order to serve on the Senate through the office of the clerk. This was done. And then, in spite of this, you didn't sit down, you didn't rush a committee report, and then the person who is accused and who was likely to suffer from a suspension order was not even present. And so, in one breath, there was no fair hearing. You never heard the other side, in line with the provisions of the Constitution, Section 36. In the other breath, you disobeyed flagrantly a court order, and then you turn around to say, oh, the judiciary is not strong enough, the judiciary should improve, when we are the very ones, by this behavior, undermining judicial institutions in this country. Honestly, if I were the judge and the appropriate applications are made before me, I will go very far to make that point strong. Now let's come back to the rules. They made so much noise about the rules. We wrote these rules.
Rule 60, Rule 40, we reviewed, Rule 20. There are a few sections of...
We reviewed the rules in 1999. I was the first to lay down the reviewed rules. It was what I laid that I sent to the Senate for them to use. It's not changed. They've just changed, increased committees, a few here and there. Now, the Senate president allocates the seat. The dispute arose from the allocation of seat. Now, once it is the Senate president that allocates a seat and a senator complains about a right to a seat, it's a privilege because the right to be in the Senate is by election and a certificate of return. Do not forget, you and I cannot go there. So once he raises that point, it is a duty under Order 10, the famous Order 10 she was shouting about, of the presiding officer to have suspended all other matters. I consider that a very serious issue and taking her complaint and make a formal ruling. But if you watch the proceedings on that day, as the distinguished senator was shouting Order 10, Order 10, I already heard the presiding officer talking about prepare her for suspension. Review the tape. We've seen it. You were already preparing her for suspension even before you
So was it fait accompli?
Oh yeah, it was completely...
They decided our fate even long before the ethics committee was even...
It was predetermined. And then beyond that, the question was, at the time they went to court, the issue was that there was a thinking, a suspicion that she might be suspended. That was why she went to court. If you don't stop them, they will do it. And then they did it in spite of receiving the order. Now, I said to them, they were wrong. Section 4, subsection 8 of the Constitution is clear. In the conduct of his legislative powers and duties, their conduct shall be subject to the judiciary.
So you can actually, another arm of government can stop the activities of another arm of government.
Look, can I just take it briefly?
So the judiciary, the court can stop
away
the activities
Yes.
that goes on in the chamber. I imagine that the activities within the chamber,
Yes.
there is some level of immunity to the procedure and the activities of lawmakers within the chamber.
As long as the activities do not obstruct the due process of law. I mean, once a Senate is in session, it is carrying out legislative business. Whether it is about a seat, whether it's about a breach of privilege, whether it is about passing the law, whether it's about passing a motion, it's all brought down legislative privilege. And so when the Constitution of Nigeria says that the National Assembly's duties shall be subject to the jurisdiction of the courts, shall, it means it. And that's why they run to court each time they are suspended. Chinda was there. Ndume was there.
And I was going to reference the case of Omar Agege. It was a rested case in the court.
Yes.
The case of Ali Ndume. They all went to court.
Dino Melaye.
Dino Melaye.
Yes.
These are cases that have been decided by our
Correct.
court. In that case, there is an underlying factor that the courts
have talked about.
For
For example, most courts are of the view that you can't suspend a sitting senator or lawmaker of any legislative body for more than 14 days, interpreting the Legislative Powers and Privileges Act.
But so there is an establishment that the Senate or the National Assembly, when there is a quorum and there is a sitting, can suspend one of their own.
Oh, yeah,
established, by their own rules.
Definite.
But the court, as at the famous case of Senator Omar Agege,
Yes.
that you cannot suspend for more than 14 days.
Correct. And not only that, you can also not suspend without hearing the other party. That's a violation.
Nemo Judas
in Kazaswa. You know that because the Senate President who allocates the seat and which was the course of action in all of this.
But Senator Akpoti Uduaghan did not make herself available to the Ethics Committee.
Well, the point will be whether or not she was in court, because I understand she filed an action and she was probably present in court. So it will also depend whether there was a proving means of proof of service on her. Because if you have a fear about you being endangered by a given institution and you approach the appropriate institution for redress, you are most likely to pursue the processes to the attention of the prosecuting institution.
But let me ask you this fundamental question. The women folk, the gender, the female gender, has been under critical spotlight in politics, in this case of Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan. As a former lawmaker, if this kind of case comes up, what do you think is best? Because as anyone that is above the age of 50 and is in politics and is in governance and is in leadership, will assume some level of reasoning and wisdom in handling this kind of matter.
Yeah.
Don't forget that Senator Godswill Akpabio is a very good friend to Chief Emmanuel Uduaghan, the husband to Senator Akpoti Uduaghan. There is a family connection.
Yeah.
There is a friendship that is is in question here. Do you think this matter could have been handled in a better way?
Well, definitely, because the Senate President is the interpreter of their rules. So in interpreting the rules, you have two obligations. You have to be compassionate, and at the same time, you have to be humanistic. Remember, we are dealing with human beings. And then you must recognize that the world recognizes the endangered nature of female politicians. And that's why you've had affirmative action, you've had the Beijing Declaration. All of this is...
Does it look like Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan stepped out of the line? If there is a rule that you cannot speak if you're not sitting on your chair, even when you have a legitimate reason to protest, and there are cases that the presiding officer himself in the 8th Assembly, we showed a video of how he agitated when he sat in a place where there was no microphone. So he agitated. But shouldn't she have also obeyed first by sitting in the place and then protest later? Well, the case of, say, obey the rules that were made by your own colleagues, agree to.
No, but don't forget that even in the reallocation of seats, there is a notification. I am aware that text messages are either sent or a publication done. So if you didn't get any and you suddenly come to the Senate on that day and some para-legislative staff I'd say, no, man, you can't stay here. This is where you are going to sit. As a member of the Senate, you are not a slave. Remember that. Part of what qualifies you to remain in the Senate is that you were elected. So the right to speak as a senator is guaranteed. The right to protest is guaranteed. So you cannot be talking about sitting on the seat, which is the subject of action.
We've seen 3 months suspension. We've seen a few months suspension, but this is 6 months. What a lot of Nigerians might not know tonight is that it's not 6 calendar months. It is 6 legislative sitting months, days that we're counting. Meaning that almost 8 months or 9 months.
Oh yeah, it will extend far beyond.
She will be out of work.
Far beyond the calendar month.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think what she will be doing, I mean, what that means is that a state of the Federal Republic, Kogi State, will be denied the right to equality of representation in the Senate. The Senate is a special body. It's made up of 3 senators per state, regardless of the size of the state. And there's a reason for that. So each time this happens, you deny Kogi State the right to a vote. And so I think that regardless of the political parties to which she may belong, the government of Kogi State should intervene and express a reservation, because it may come to a point where one vote will matter and Natasha will not be there. And that's key. It's key. So that's why it's not just about Natasha. It's about whether or not Kogi State, as a component state of the Federation of Nigeria, is denied a senatorial vote.
How damaging is this for the reputation of the Senate under Godswill Akpabio?
Well, I think the most damaging is the blazing disobedience of court order. It is very untenable for a lawmaking body.
But there are very senior lawyers there. You have the Senate President, who is a lawyer. You have the majority leader, who is also a very respected senior lawyer. And do you think they would have flagrantly disobeyed court orders if they probably had considered something else that you are not seeing, Leonard Sick?
Well, you know, the truth is, power is an aphrodisiac. Legislation and the business of legislation it smells of power. So sometimes they may oversight the law in the sense that they are dealing with primary interests which are also underlined politically, whether we like it or not. And politics is about who gets what, how, and when. So if they had made up their mind to suspend this senator, nothing else for them will matter, not even a court order. So their seniority in law will probably not be counted on this occasion. But for us who are outside, who are observing, who are practicing, we will not fail to say, no. Before many of them, we were there. So we would tell
Can this be corrected?
Well, for me, the way to correct it is there are 2 ways. One, to hold a special session and rescind their decision, or the courts to step in and order and not suspend the senator, because it was done in flagrant disobedience. So once the lawyers file the appropriate action, we know that a mandatory injunction can do this, and I urge these lawyers, my lawyers, to take the move, make the move.
Can Godswill Akpabio fix what has come like a dent on his leadership of the Senate?
Well, that may take some time, but it can carry out immediate emergency repairs, which will be do the right things, win some folks, and then hope over the period, make some good laws for the good governance of our country, work on some real nice policies, maybe the country.
A lot of women are not happy with him.
It's understandable, because it takes a woman such a long journey to get to the Senate. How many are there?
All right. Honorable Wesley, now, so for some good reasons, thank you so much for saying this.
I appreciate
your time.
Thank you,
and the legal knowledge that you've shared with us tonight. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very
Senior
much.
Advocate of Nigeria, Honorable Wesley also, who spent some time also in the National Assembly, speaking on the point of law and on the point of experience of the operations of the National Assembly. Someone who is also a part of the framing of the order that has been so much contentious. We're going to break, everyone, but when we return, we get more perspectives on this matter. We'll be right back.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of an independent authority for the registration, regulation, and funding of political parties in Nigeria has scaled a second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill seeks to establish a dispute tribunal, regulate funding of political parties, and utilization of the funds. The House also passed a resolution to investigate takeoff grants, bailout funds, and interventions given to ministries, departments, and agencies from 2015 till date. Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State says the future of the country lies in the massive investments in the younger generation through education and skills acquisition of the youth. The governor, who spoke when he hosted Sheyi Tinubu, the son of President Bola Tinubu, at Sir Kashmir Ibrahim House, disclosed that his administration will soon create a Ministry of Youth Development as part of efforts to promote social welfare and inclusion.
Now, so we're not taking your job at all. That's what I was trying to, because someone was saying it's sport and youth development. I said, no, it's sport. So meaning nobody is quoting your own ministry into two. So there's no any threat here. And I can assure you, we will certainly look at that Ministry of Youth Development. Is very important because youth are 70% of the population.
The Young Progressive Party is asking President Bola Tinubu to review his economic policies in order to ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerians. Addressing a news conference in Abuja after the 25th National Working Committee meeting of the party, the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Egbeola Martins, says the poverty level in the country is becoming alarming. In a 7-point communique presented at the end of the meeting, the party demands a halt in intermittent increases in taxes and a thorough investigation of the allegation of sexual harassment against the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. Former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Michael Kiru, believes the continued political conflict in Rivers State could turn the state into a battleground, threatening its economic strength and stability. Mr. Okiro stated this at a press briefing in Abuja. The former IGP expresses fear that the political conflict could turn the state into a no-go area. He's urging traditional and religious leaders, as well as other influential figures in the state, to intervene.
Thank you so much, everyone. Our eyes are still on the issue in the National Assembly where Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan has been suspended for 6 months. From what I know about legislative activities and the politics in the National Assembly, that will last longer than 6 months on the calendar. It might, in fact, be up to 9 months, if not, well. Let's get some perspectives now. You've heard the legal angle on this matter. Let's bring in the special advisor to and a consultant to the Senate President on Communications and Strategy, Sir Ken Okolubo, is live for us here in our Abuja. So thank you so much, Ken, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Sheil. It's been ages.
It's been ages, actually.
I know.
Thank you so much.
It's so good to see you again.
And you've crossed a lot of waters.
I know.
From being in the PDP, was it Labour Party?
Was it Labour? Was it
Akpoti?
That's where I contested.
Now you're working with Godswill Akpabio.
Yes, 100%.
Interestingly, you are torn in between two families. You're a good friend.
I'm torn between two families. You know, the interesting thing was that Emmanuel Udouan actually recommended me for this job. And so you can imagine I'm the image maker of the Senate President, and Emmanuel Udouan is the husband to Senator Natasha Akpoti Udouan.
Were you there on the day that Senator Natasha was talking about, where she accused the Senate President of meeting the idea of returning her to the home to have a nice time, according to her?
Oh, I didn't go to Akwa Ibom. For some reason, I had to stay back. You know, it was December, so I had to stay back with my family. That is why I didn't make that party. There were some reasons I had to stay back with my, you know, I have a young family, so I had to stay back with my family. I wasn't there. But, you know, the interesting thing about it is all these wouldn't have happened. Like I told my friend, I clearly told him I disagreed with his wife. You saw my statement in Punch. I thought she lied about the incident, and I felt it was right to put things in the right perspective. And one thing is for sure, you know, when you can't support the facts, when the facts don't support what you have presented, it becomes very impossible for you to hold on to those facts. Why do I say this? Because of the relationship that Godswill Akpabio, my boss, the Senate President, had with Emmanuel Orisejolomi Udouan. His wife was made the chairman of the Senate Committee on Local Content 2 weeks after she came into the Senate on the 21st of November, 2023. And so if she has alleged that on the 8th of December 2023, what's happened had happened, and he was telling her that there were a lot of privileges to enjoy. What privileges can be more than the fact that we have about 73 or 76 chairman of committees, and she had become a chairman of committee already prior to the 8th of December, which interestingly, they both have the same birthdays on the 9th of December. And so, I mean, the family is intertwined, so I don't want to go into those family issues.
And things are
but
really
I'm looking at the
things
facts,
are really broken
and that is
down
why we should actually look for how we can mend fences at this
just
point.
for a moment,
at this point in time.
Let's get to the fact of the matter. There are senators who are saying the crux of the matter was the removal of Senator Akpoti as the chair of the Senate Committee on Local Content.
That's why I said
Is that right?
That was what I said in the punch. I didn't put water in my mouth, so I said it. And Lina Ikeji, I didn't tell Lina Ikeji to blow it up, but she blew it up. I was very emphatic about it. Why do I say this? Let me put a question straight. If Senator Natasha Akpoti was still the chairman of Local Content, would she have made this allegation? Even if her seat was changed?
Does it take away the fact that she has a genuine grievance of sexual abuse or sexual harassment, allegations of sexual harassment?
Why I don't believe that happened was the fact that I have a trajectory, and I just gave you the fact that she was already committee chairman.
You don't believe, but you do not know whether it happened.
I wasn't there.
Because it's a word of the senator. That is why I said against the Senate president.
I don't believe. But if you look at it, on Weibo's account, who was an eyewitness, he was in your studio for the Sunrise Daily program. You know, you're already a lawyer. You know there's something called an eyewitness report. He gave his eyewitness account and said, not only did he come in the same car with both Senator Natasha Akpoti and Chief Emmanuel Udua, he also left in the same car with them. And that report it's what you call in law. I mean, that report is beyond reasonable doubt, because he was able to account for all the time that they were together. And I also believe that some evidence is beyond that. But you see, the window of opportunity that the SP gave today, if you look at on your reports, when you saw he put the prayer 2, a lot of people are unhappy with him. The prayer 2 did not succeed in a lot of people's interpretation. That's giving her the window of opportunity to be able to apologize. But the SP, maybe his magnanimity, said the eyes have it. So and that gives her the window of opportunity to apologize. To be able to apologize. And you see, I don't even like I don't even like what the senior advocate of Nigeria was doing here.
She's the aggrieved party here.
What was the grievance? That her seat was moved? But she's sitting on that chair now.
No, but the big question here is that it's because of sexual harassment.
The fact of the matter was her seat was moved, and there was already bottled up anger because she was removed from the Local Content Committee. We have to be realistic. Now, if she didn't go to Brekete and she didn't go to Arise, all this could have been sorted out. She would have, the same way Senator Godswill Akpabio apologized when his seat, he couldn't hear his microphone, and you showed the video. That's all she needed to do. Apologize for the unruly conduct for that day.
It doesn't look to you,
and it would have been sorted out. But by the time she went to Brekete and she went to Arise,
Ken,
we must be realistic. I like to face
doesn't it look to you that...
I'm happy you know that the husband is my good friend.
Doesn't it look to you, Ken, that she's got a lot of bottled up emotion?
That's exactly what happened.
Just a moment, about emotional harassment allegation that she's claimed.
No, that's not right. The bottled up emotion comes from the fact that she was removed from that committee to diaspora, and she wasn't happy about it.
Could that be true?
That's the fact.
That is the insinuation from your side.
That's not from my side. That's the fact.
No, I'm saying from
Senator Weibo, who was the chief, who is the deputy chief whip and a leader of the House, clearly said the same thing I told Punch. You know why I said that to Punch is I wanted to hold on to one line. I didn't want a situation whereby, you know, my boss would definitely not come and tell you this. Do you understand where I'm coming from? But you see, I have been tested in this whole drama. I am his image maker. I'm his consultant on communication and strategy. The husband recommended me for this position. And at the same time, the test is coming from that side. I always have my integrity. You know, when I served Dr. Emmanuel Odua as commissioner, I was faithful even till today. Interestingly, when it was his 70th birthday, I was the only commissioner that gave him a full page. So just last year.
Were you torn between loyalty and
friendship?
That's what you're torn?
Yes. And I had to start for loyalty.
So what did you tell the Alema of Warri?
I told Alema of Warri that we could settle this issue. And I still insist that we could settle this issue. Because you see, you know why I think we can settle this issue?
So
the fact that the second prayer passed is the only window of opportunity I can tell that this issue can be settled. There shouldn't be any pride. The SAN came here and there is no injunction. What's happened is that there's a court, there's a process, there's a court order. But the court order says that the Senate should come and show reason why an injunction should not be granted. They didn't say they had restrained. You see, the judge was very careful. And you know, when the legislative process has started, you can't stop it now. It's a settled authority. It's only when it has not started you can put a stop to it.
How do you explain this? There are those who are out there who are saying, this is not the first time that Godswill Akpabio, we having this kind of allegation against him. You heard from the former MD of the NDDC.
And I have spoken to him about it. I wasn't working with him then. And he has his very deep regrets. His deep regrets was that he didn't pursue that matter to a logical conclusion, and he intends to pursue it now to a logical conclusion. You see, one of the mistakes that Trump made was that he didn't deal with the issue of Stormy Daniels. And that's why he's a convict today, even though he's the president of America. And so his deep regret was that he didn't deal with that issue, and that issue will be dealt with. You see, when you decide to say, let's forgive and forget, and you move on, then things like this will come back to haunt you. Are you understanding? And so he wants to deal with that issue once and for all.
It's a case of Akpa versus Akpo. Akpabio versus Akpoti.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I disagree with that.
No. As in, there is a popular joke on social media that is a case
You know what has happened? You see, a lot of people are driving traffic because they're making money from it. YouTube is paying them, Twitter is paying them, Instagram is paying them, and so they're finding solace in it. But you see, away from the social media, we need to face reality. The reality of it all is, all Senator Natasha Akpoti needs to do is to apologize. A written apology. She's been given that window. Anybody that is deceiving her to the contrary is just ruining her political career.
If you take this away from this particular instance and draw an inference to what has happened before, the kind of the manner in which the Senate President has spoken to this woman on the floor before, don't you think there is a historical way of disrespect?
No, if you remember, I was on a rise after that incident. I was the only one that spoke about it. And very honest about that incident. When he said it was a nightclub, he meant it was not a place to make noise. He didn't mean to disrespect her, in all honesty. But people found
what he meant and what he said are two different
things.
So did you hear what he said?
Okay, did you hear what Senator Shomole said today? He said he was on your program. And even though he was convinced, but that his conviction was not enough, he had to apologize because people found it offensive. And that's exactly the same scenario that Senator Godswill Akpabio was caught with. What he meant was, like he rightly said, was not what it was interpreted. And he was a statesman. And I was one of those that advised him that, look, this is your friend's wife, and it would only make sense for you to apologize on the floor of the Senate so that people will not misconstrue that you're referring to your friend's wife as a club girl. And that's exactly what he was not doing. He was rather saying that the nightclub was a place you shouldn't make noise. If he had said the marketplace, he would have said he was calling her a market woman. You see, let me tell you, one thing about my boss I've realized is that he has that tendency of joking. In fact, one day, off the cuff, I was telling him that maybe boss should have made a lot of money being a comedian. He said, Ken, maybe you're right. Don't get me wrong. Do you get? And people take that for granted and do not understand that when he makes such statements, not about the nightclub, but generally, maybe he just wants to tour the moment. He just wants to put life into what is happening. And it's something that comes to him. But he doesn't intend to do it. And even I can tell you for free that Chief Emmanuel Udua didn't think that Senator Akpabio was referring to his wife as a club girl. I'm 100% sure of that.
That kind of situation, when Senator Uwabonyi and you now are saying that the real reason behind all of this rift is the removal of Senator.
But I said it already in Punch.
Just a moment. Just that the real reason behind all of this is Senator Akpoti Uduaghan's removal as the chair of the Senate Committee on Local Content. What is this about this local content?
I wouldn't know, but she felt maybe, I don't know, the Senate President has every reason to move people from committees to committees, just like the way the President of the country can decide to drop a minister and appoint a new minister if he's not satisfied. She wasn't the only one that was removed, but maybe she felt that...
Why was she removed?
I don't know why she was removed, but the Senate President felt a need...
Is it true that...
The Senate President felt a need to rejig the committees, and she didn't feel good about it. But you see, what I think is this is not the right way to go about it. She could have nipped it in the bud if she had had an audience with the Senate President, or she have allowed her husband to have audience with the Senate President, since he had an unfettered access to the Senate President. And that's why I'm not happy with the way the turn of events have come. Because the Brekete interview, the Arise interview, just compounded issues. Have you noticed that not even one senator spoke in her favor? That should worry you now.
Let me ask you quickly. With all that has happened, are you aware that there was some kind of investigation on the activities of the Senate Committee on Local Content?
I'm not aware of the investigation. All I know is that people petitioned.
There are petitions?
But there was no investigation.
There are some kind of spotlight already under...
Yes, but there was no investigation. So let me tell you one thing. I am not privy to what happens in executive sessions. And the Senate President wouldn't tell me everything. So maybe there are 13 things he would have come to his knowledge, which I don't know.
Leading to a removal as the chair?
I can't say that for sure.
So, but you're also not aware that a lot of things were said to have been allegations flying up and down?
I saw the allegations, but the Senate President didn't bring that to light. And no committee was set up to investigate her.
Could it have been better if she had been explained to the real reason why she...
that's why she should have sought audience with the Senate President instead of going about it this way. And she would have been given that audience because she's a distinguished senator.
Is your boss aware of the possible repercussion of what happened today?
You see, it's not about my boss, it's about the Senate.
He's his presiding officer.
It's not about him being the presiding officer.
Let me just...
Did you hear what he was clearly told by the senator from Ondo State? He was told that this is beyond him. It's the Senate that was being protected. It's not, it has nothing to do with him. And even if you look at it, when he tried to, somebody actually called me and said, your boss rigged prayer too. Are you understanding that the nays actually had it and not the yeas? You could see that a couple of the senators might not have been happy that he said yea instead of nay. That should tell you that he still used his wisdom to give that opportunity for Senator Natasha Akpoti to write a letter of apology and will be considered because that prayer went through.
From the point of law, Ken,
yes,
you're aware that whatever that's happened between the allegations against the petition from Senator Akpoti against the Senate President, do you think from the point of law and the point of equity, justice and fairness, that Senator Godswill Akpabio should be sitting as a presiding officer over a punishment and a judgment on Senator Akpoti Uduaghan?
Now, if the matters were not in court, for example, and the petition goes to the Ethics and Privileges Committee, just like the report was presented today, I'm just, for want of time of the program, certainly Senator Godswill Akpabio would have to step aside for that report to be presented. He can't be a judge in his own case, and the Deputy Senate President would preside. But we have not gotten to that stage. So why do you now start insinuating that?
So now he is a judge in his own matter. Just for a moment. Just for a moment. The case that took the matter, and part of what Senator Akpoti Uduaghan has as grievance is against Senator Godswill Akpabio. That has been sent to the Ethics and Privileges. I am asking you that don't you think that Senator Godswill Akpabio should have stepped down from presiding over the decision of the Ethics and Privileges?
No, he wouldn't have been able to step down because the decision has been taken. You can't change the report of a committee.
For the fact that his name was mentioned at all,
no, you can't
in
change,
the whole gamut of the debate.
Why you can't change the report of a committee? Because
I'm not saying change. I'm saying should he have been the presiding officer over a matter in which he
wasn't the presiding officer today, the prayer 2 wouldn't have gone through.
No, but I mean, I'm saying that
prayer 2 went through because
fundamental.
Prayer 2 went through.
It's a fundamental.
No, prayer 2 went
of
through.
The fairness in
No,
law.
but prayer 2 went through because he was the presiding officer.
The question here, Mr.
There was no
Olubo,
conflict of interest here because the committee had set his report.
How will the
and he gave all the
officer,
senators, listen,
you're not listening to my question.
He gave all the
Mr.
senators an
Okolubo.
opportunity to speak.
Mr. Okolubo, you're not listening to me. If Senator Akpabio is a party in the grievance that Senator Akpoti Uduaghan is laying before the Senate, does it make sense?
But that wasn't the situation. That wasn't the decision.
You don't think morally that
no,
because his name is mentioned in the matter?
No, Shehu, you're getting it wrong. It was unruly. They charged her for unruly behavior because she was in fault of ordered 6-2 of the Senate proceedings. She didn't take her seat.
Should I play a tape for you? Just a moment.
The fact that have you noticed that when she took her seat, when order 10 she was allowed to take order 10.
Just a moment. Do you know the reason why I'm saying to you that the Senate president should have or could have is because when Senator Akpoti Uduaghan was aggrieved when she was not going to be listened to, she started speaking directly and personally to the Senate president.
Because she was not sitting on the seat.
And I'm saying...
now that she's sitting on that seat,
the question I'm asking
she was allowed to speak.
The question I'm asking you is the fact that as soon as Senator Akpoti Uduaghan had started having an issue with Senator Akpabio...
No, they said she had the issue prior to him coming into the chambers.
That is all the same.
But did you even hear that the fact that today the chief whip reported that she was also in violation of Order 55-1, which says that everybody must rise when the presiding officer is coming in, that for 2 days she has refused to rise. She was in violation of that. The chief whip also reported that today. So what I'm saying here in the nutshell is that it has nothing to do with the presiding officer. It all has to do with
It does look like it does have...
It has to do with
the point of view of Senator Akpoti Uduaghan,
the chief whip?
From the point of view of Senator Akpoti Uduaghan, it does have all to do with Senator Akpabio.
That is it. And not even the
And does look like a personal affair now.
That is exactly what it is.
How will your boss handle it?
Well, my boss has given her the window of opportunity to make amends. I would urge her to review today's proceeding, ask herself some very deep questions. Why did not Senator come to my favor, to my rescue? Why did Senator Ireti Kinjigbe also sign the reports on ethics and privileges? Why did she not come to my rescue? You know, at this material point in time, people will keep urging you on. But when you sit down and ask yourself, why should everybody be against me?
There is a very huge women community, and there are supporters in the men community also, who are aggrieved and angry about what has happened today, headed and led by Senator Goswill Akpabio. Is your principal really ready to get head on with these powerful forces?
Those are not private to the rules of the Senate. I just gave you an example. The chairman of Women Affairs is Senator Ireti Kinjigbe, and she appended her signature to the 6-month suspension.
Does it make it right,
Senator,
whatever that has happened today?
Natasha, it makes it absolutely right. Every senator cannot be wrong. Did you hear what's in the wisdom of Senator Lawan, who was the predecessor to my boss, said? He only made a case for her security personnel not to be withdrawn. When the former majority leader, Senator Ojus Okalu, spoke, he only made a case for her aides not to suffer the same fate as her.
And we understand that
our
office was shut immediately.
When Senator Shomole also spoke,
is that true?
When Senator Shomole also spoke, he also made a case not for the sentence to be reduced, but the fact that she should explore prayer 2. And also, Senator Fada Hunsi was very emphatical about it and felt that there was no need to reduce it. The only person that made a case for reduction was the Senate Minority Leader, Abamoro. And so if I am here in his shoes, I will look at it and ask myself, can all these people be wrong? I believe she should take that window of opportunity, in my own view.
But what about that's unofficial way, unofficial side?
It's not even unofficial; it's official. They're giving her that
yeah, that's
window.
what I'm saying. Because the things are broken down officially and
if she takes that window, we can put all these things to rest, and Kogi Central will be represented. She also realized that Kogi Central will not be represented for 6 months of of legislative
we understand
calendar.
That, is it true also that our office was shut? We understand that as soon as
once you're suspended, your office is shut.
And she might be away if this is sustained for more than 6 months.
Yes, and that is why she should take the window of opportunity and not listen to those who are telling her to go and fight.
How will your boss be able to fix a broken down family relationship?
Oh, but you heard him today on the floor of the Senate. If he didn't think it was painful, his wife also alluded to it when she had her own press conference.
Are you worried that working with him, there is a broken down, a dented image of the Senate under Godswill Akpabio's leadership?
That is why it worries me, because I'm supposed to be his image maker, and which I am. And so this crisis was turning between my work.
Well, your principal, is he helping your matter?
He's helping my matter a lot, because he listens a lot. We don't have a master-servant relationship.
Senate has not been this badly represented or portrayed in the public.
But that is why you see that the senators. That's why you see that the senators.
Dented.
That's why you see the senators took a decisive action. And it wasn't about Senator Natasha.
It's always be remembered that it's under Godswill Akpabio.
Nope. This is a Senate that has passed the Southeast Development Commission, the North Central Development Commission, the Southwest Development Commission, the students' loan, the credit scheme. There has been no Senate that has achieved what Senator Godswill Akpabio has achieved in 2 years.
We're not here for that.
If you want us to talk about that,
we're not,
trust me, you know, I will reel out all those facts.
But Ken, we're totally out of time.
Thank you so much for having me.
He's a consultant on communications and strategy to the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.